The medical bay of the Valsion station hummed with the sterile efficiency that Dr. Aaron Solis had come to appreciate during his 3 decades of xenobiological practice. Tonight, however, that efficiency had shattered like glass against stone. Sedative Protocol 7 now. Aaron's 4 manipulator appendages worked in synchronized precision, his chitinous fingers dancing across holographic displays. Behind the reinforced transparisteel barrier, 3 Cravathi cubs, each no larger than a Terran wolf, thrashed against their containment fields with surprising ferocity. The Cravathi were apex predators from a death world that made most species. Homeworlds looked like botanical gardens. Even as cubs, their retractable claws could shred durasteel, and their developing jaw strength could crush bone. These 3 had been orphaned when their colony ship suffered catastrophic failure in the outer reaches. Rescue protocols demanded they be saved. Medical protocols demanded they be sedated for treatment. Neither was working. Protocol 7 failing. Doctor, his assistant, a crystalline Zelphite named Concerning Pattern of Lights, chimed with increasing distress harmonics. Heart rates are escalating. Cortisol analogs at dangerous levels. Aaron watched the biometric readouts with growing alarm. The cub's distress wasn't just emotional. It was physiological, spiraling toward a cascade failure that would shut down their still-developing systems. They'd tried everything. Pheromone therapy, auditory dampening, even a Lumerian empathic touch specialist who'd left the bay trembling and pale. They're calling for their mother, the Lumerian had whispered. Such raw primal need. I cannot bear it. The largest cub, the readouts identified her as female, approximately 4 months old, slammed against the containment field again. Her amber eyes were wild, pupils dilated to black pools of terror. She made a sound that Aaron's translator struggled with, settling on distress vocalization extreme urgency. To him, it sounded like the universe breaking. Contact station command, Aaron said, his voice steady despite the sinking feeling in his thorax. Inform them we may lose all 3 subjects within the next standard hour. Request emergency xenopediatric consultation from Doctor. Concerning Pattern of Lights interrupted, something his species considered profoundly rude. There's a human outside. Says she can help. Aaron's translator chip nearly glitched. A human? Concerning Pattern, we have a crisis of the highest order. I don't have time for... She says she's worked with distressed young before. Multiple species. The Zelphite's crystalline structure flickered with uncertain colors. She seemed confident. Confidence. Aaron had learned during his time at this joint species station that humans possessed confidence the way his people possessed chitinous plates, as a fundamental layer of their being. Usually misplaced. Often dangerous, but the cub's vital signs were deteriorating. Let her in. But keep security on standby. The airlock cycled and Sergeant Mira Cade stepped into the medical bay. She was typical of her species, bipedal mammalian with that peculiar combination of fragility and durability that made humans such an enigma to the galactic community. She wore standard station fatigues, her dark hair pulled back in what Aaron had learned was called a ponytail. Her brown eyes swept across the medical bay with an assessment that seemed almost predatory in its focus. "You're the doctor?" she asked, her voice carrying that flat, calm quality that Aaron had noticed in human medical personnel. Dr. Aaron Solis, yes. Sergeant, I appreciate the offer, but these are Cravathi cubs. They're apex predators from a Class 12 death world, I know. Mira was already moving toward the containment area, her movements fluid and unhurried. I've read the brief. Their mother died in the collision? Yes, along with their entire pack structure. We've attempted May I? She gestured toward the containment field controls. Every instinct in Aaron's evolutionary history screamed danger. Humans were Category 4 predators themselves, persistence hunters from a world that had tried very hard to kill them for millions of years. Putting a human in proximity to distressed Cravathi cubs violated at least a dozen safety protocols. The largest cub screamed again, and Aaron saw her vital signs spike into the red. Do it, he said. Mira's fingers moved across the controls with surprising dexterity. The containment field shimmered and died. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the largest cub charged. Aaron reached for the emergency stasis control, but Mira was faster. She dropped to one knee, making herself smaller, less threatening. Her hands came up, not in defense, but open, palms forward. And she made a sound. It wasn't anything Aaron's translator could parse. It was low, rhythmic, somewhere between a hum and a rumble. The cub skidded to a halt 3 feet away, head tilted. Confusion replacing terror in those amber eyes. Mira continued the sound. And slowly, so slowly that Aaron's perception of time seemed to distort, she extended one hand toward the cub. "Easy," she murmured, the word woven into her strange vocalization. "Easy, little one. You're safe now." The cub's nostrils flared, scenting. Aaron watched the biometric readouts with fascination. The cub's heart rate was decreasing, cortisol dropping. The stress hormones that had been flooding her system were beginning to normalize. The cub took one step forward, then another. Her nose touched Mira's outstretched palm. "That's it," Mira whispered. "I've got you." The other 2 cubs, watching their sibling, began to calm. The smallest one, a male, crept forward on uncertain legs. Mira shifted, opening her other arm, and the cub pressed against her side. Within moments, all 3 cubs had congregated around the human, their bodies relaxing in stages. Mira sat down fully, cross-legged, and the cubs arranged themselves around her like petals around a flower. The rhythmic sound she'd been making continued, and Aaron realized with a start what it was. A heartbeat. She was mimicking a heartbeat. "Sergeant," he said quietly, afraid to break whatever spell had fallen over the room. "How are you doing this?" Mira looked up, and there was something ancient in her eyes. "My species evolved raising our young in groups. We're wired to respond to infant distress, any infant. And we figured out a long time ago that a calm heartbeat, steady breathing, these things communicate safety to a frightened child." She stroked the largest cub's head, and the predator that had been thrashing against containment fields mere minutes ago rumbled with contentment. "Doesn't matter if they're human children. The mammalian brain speaks a universal language. But the Cravathi aren't mammals." "No," Mira agreed. "But they're warm-blooded pack animals who raise their young communally." "Close enough." She adjusted her position slightly, and all 3 cubs shifted with her, maintaining contact. "Their mother is gone. They need to know someone will keep them safe. That someone will be the heartbeat in the darkness." Aaron watched as one by one the cubs' eyes began to close, their breathing synchronized with Mira's, slow, deep, peaceful. Within 10 minutes, all 3 were asleep, curled against the human who had walked into their terror and transformed it into safety. "Remarkable," Aaron whispered, studying the readouts. All vital signs were normalizing. Stress hormones had returned to baseline. "I've never seen anything like it." Mira smiled, tired but satisfied. "That's humans for you, Doctor. We're not the strongest species, not the smartest or the fastest, but we're very, very good at taking care of things that need taking care of." She looked down at the sleeping cubs, her hand continuing its gentle stroking motion, even things with claws and teeth. Aaron made a note in his medical log, knowing that this incident would be studied and analyzed for years to come. But the words that he truly wanted to record, that would never fit in any official documentation, whispered through his mind. Perhaps the most dangerous thing about humans isn't their ability to hunt or fight or survive. Perhaps it's their capacity to care, fierce and boundless and utterly without regard for what logic says they should fear. Outside the medical bay, the station continued its eternal rotation. But inside, 3 predator cubs slept peacefully in the arms of another predator, one who had conquered her own death world by learning not just to survive, but to nurture